Welcome to the Witcher Lorecast, the show that explores the vast lore behind the Witcher games, show, and books. Witchers, welcome back to the Witcher Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots. I'm here with my good buddy, Toasty, and some of our other favorite people, because it is the end of the month. It is our patron chat again, and we're going to be talking about what we would create if in the next Witcher game you can make whatever kind of Witcher you want. If all the boundaries are just pushed out, you don't have to be limited by creating a male human character that has certain traits. You can be whatever you want. What would you be? I think it's going to be awesome. Toasty, how are you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm tired.
Toasty has been on the path. He just had to take out a few different, I don't know, what were you fighting?
It was like three fiends. It was ridiculous. I've never seen it before.
Yeah. Whatever the best analogy is for the people that you don't like to have to work with at work. That's what you just slayed. Fiends?
Yeah. Fiends is a pretty good one. Yeah,
okay. All right.
Good one.
All right. Well, good to have you here as usual. And we also have Ben of Temeria. Ben, welcome back, buddy. How's it going?
Good. Glad to be back again.
Yeah, I hear your day was super exciting too with meetings at work. So
I gotta love meetings.
That sounds fun. Well, now we get to talk Witcher stuff, so the world just got better. And Genesis is here as well. Genesis with her cat. Is that a cat, or is that a sorceress in disguise as a cat?
No, she's not a sorceress. She's my familiar. So she is very, very noisy tonight and very, very needy because mom's been gone for like a week. So she's like, I need the attention now. Crazy Even though cat. I kicked her out of the room, she was banging on the door.
Yes.
I could hear it.
Well, we know that when you own cats, the cats really own you. So that's just kind of how it goes. Or familiars. Do your familiars own you? Is that how that works also?
I have to rebuild my affinity with her in order for my magic to come back. So this is necessary.
Awesome. That totally makes sense. Well, guys, let's just dig into it, because the premise here is, and Toasty and I have thrown this idea around, we might just be getting people's hopes up, but the premise here is in the next Witcher game, if, and that's a big if, you can create your own Witcher. Let's say it's not just a character that you play as, which seems highly unlikely. All the CDPR games, typically you're given a character and you just play as that character. But if they do a more like traditional role play game where you can make your own character right from the beginning, you get to pick their gender, you get to pick their race, you get to pick what school of the Witcher they're from, you get to pick everything you possibly can. And you guys might even come up with ways of customizing this character that I haven't even thought of. And the question is, what would you design as your like boundaries busted open character? I know Ben, you look like you're thinking here. I'm sure you have some thoughts on this. Are you going like way out there? Are you going with something more traditional?
Depends. I mean, for me, it depends on the game itself. Like when I play Elder Scrolls, for example, like depending what like area on Tamriel you are, like I'm typically like a different race or something like that.
Do you typically match like the zone you're in?
Typically I do.
So like you're a Nord in Skyrim, you're a Dark Elf in Morrowind, Okay. So how does that work out for The Witcher? Like, let's say this game it's in the continent. Let's say it's part of it,
I mean, I'm probably just going to be just your plain old traditional Witcher. Like I'll be a male human. School wise, I don't know, unless like I would probably go with Wolf if Wolf is an option.
So you're sticking with the whole like traditional.
But if there's like different mechanics, depending on what school you are, I'll weigh in on that. Or if we do have other races when we like, if we can create our own Witcher, like there's like racial passives and stuff like that. Like it always plays an effect, but I kind of put myself into, like, when I create characters, I put myself into the character.
So you're creating Ben in that world.
Yeah.
You're like, I would be in that world. I would be of the school of the wolf because that's the one I like the most. The one we know the most about, like that kind of thing. So, okay. So you're creating a very standard, quote unquote, style Witcher. This Witcher now has to pick, like, even in The Witcher 3, you get to decide if you're going to level up more of your swordplay, you're going to level up more of your signs, your oils, things like that. Do you have a special affinity, a method that you prefer for slaying the enemy?
Personally, I like to use signs a lot. I do focus a little bit on swordplay, but I mostly like upgrade all my signs like immediately that I can.
So you're going like magic-y Witcher.
Oh yeah,
as much as you possibly can.
Yep, and I can actually literally everybody.
Just right. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. So magic-y standard Witcher. Is it all going into signs, or is that just the first thing that you level up? Because I guess, I mean, we don't know the boundaries of a new game. Do you level up signs first and then you do like swordplay after that, or does it go back and forth?
I would normally do signs first and then focus on swordplay after, and then I mean, it depends how in depth it will go. Obviously, like when in Witcher 3, like once you get past like typically level 15ish, it kind of like slows down a bit, and you kind of have to really like focus what points you're putting in where.
Right.
So I mean, it just depends on where we go from there. I like to do a little bit with the like number one thing I do always upgrade first is the parrying arrows. Because I hate arrows with a burning passion. Right.
Every time I think about that, I think of the scene at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring where they're fighting off the Uruk-hai, and where Boromir dies, and Aragorn's facing down the big guy, and he throws a dagger at him, and Aragorn hits it out of the air. Do you remember that scene? Like, everybody knows that scene. And he just with the sword, he just kind of whacks it out of the air. That's the image I get of like, well, you just like hit the arrows with your sword.
Or, you know, if you watch Witcher season 1, episode 1, Geralt does it right in the Blaviken scene.
Yeah. Very, very similar. Yeah. Very similar. It's a cool thing.
I focus, like, I'm a mix between like swordplay and like sign usage, leaning more towards signs.
Got it. Okay, so now what about the way your character looks? Like everything from like skin tone to hair to the way the hair is worn to even like, for example, everybody's so familiar with Geralt and like his specific wounds in specific places. Like he's got like very clear scars on certain parts of his face, and then also the rest of his body. But like, what does your character look like?
So I would make him a little bit taller than I am personally. I'm not very tall whatsoever.
It's kind of nice to be a little bit more imposing if you're going to be somebody who fights things.
Come on, Ben. We got to have a short King Witcher. Okay, it's all good.
Fair. I mean, I would have facial hair. I'm not one for clean shave. I would have like a scar, like a claw scar, like on my cheek.
Right, like 3 nails that ripped across your cheek.
Yeah. I would like have something like that.
What about your eyes? Traditional cat-like eyes?
I would say more cat-like. I like the more cat-like from the games than I do like the yellow eyes from the show.
Mm-hmm. And what color would they be? Yellow? Would they be orange? Like,
I like the yellow personally. Mm-hmm. Like I've looked at other like eyes like orange, like red style, but like I don't know, yellow just pops.
Mm-hmm. What about your hair? Because in the real world, you have what appears to be kind of a medium brown hair. Is that
dark brown?
Dark brown.
Medium.
It's hard to tell with lighting and cameras and things. But so would you match that, or would you go something completely different?
I'd probably go with dark brown, like what my natural color is. I wouldn't copy Carol.
Right.
Even though I'm getting white hair already, like I don't need it.
welcome to the club, my friend. Now, would you wear it short, or would you have like longer hair? Would you?
I would probably actually do a little bit longer and maybe have like a ponytail in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a style.
Just kind of wear it back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go get it cut very often. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're out there on the path, it's not like you're like have opportunities
you're not at a barber all the time,
right, to go get your hair cut or even trim your face, right? Like you're going to be kind of a scruffy dude. That makes sense. Unless you're like a very fancy man who like brings his own equipment and like washes it out in the stream and like, you know, like it's constantly like a little mirror or something. But I would rather pack extra weapons than a grooming kit.
Oh, agreed.
Cool. Okay. I've got some other questions, but I think it would be more fun to move to Genesis now and get some of her Witcher descriptions. Where are you going? Are you sticking with human? Are like, where do you start?
Listening to Ben, I'm like, how are we exactly opposite on like every single decision we make?
Uh-huh. So you're more adventurous. You're like, let's go out there. Let's do something crazy.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking at the very least being a half elf, if not a full elf.
Cool.
And then I would be a female witcher. And I'd want to go School of the Crane just because I think that it's really me personally. I am a long range combat. I prefer to use my bow and arrow if I'm going to do anything like that. So if my Witcher, I think that it would be fun to play that. And I do enjoy playing archers and things like that in video games. So
Archer Witcher. Now, here's the question. Do you have different arrows with different tips? Mm-hmm. Do you have like silver arrows? Things. Yeah.
Yep.
That's not something I even thought about. I mean, we get like a crossbow in The Witcher 3, which is kind of a big thing because a lot of times Witchers are like, you know, bows are for wimps. But like, you don't think about like, are each of those crossbow bolts tipped with different? I don't think that matters in The Witcher 3, right? That's not even a thing.
You do have different types of bolts that you can use.
Do you? Because I can't remember that because I didn't specialize in it. I didn't use it very much.
Yeah, I would much rather fight long range than up close. Yeah, so I definitely use my crossbow.
So are you going crossbow or are you going like multi-bow or do you have like a longbow for distance? Do you have like...
Definitely. I would definitely have a longbow and a crossbow. That's why I kind of picked the School of the Crane is because they specialize in the long range weaponry and they have started actually using like very primitive guns. And I'm like, so that is.
Are you going guns then too?
No, I'm not going guns. I mean,
no blunderbuss.
I would be trained in it. Pistols? No, a blunderbuss would take like way too long to reload. I need something a lot faster, and I can reload an arrow on a longbow a lot faster than I can.
Pull another one out of your quiver, right? Yeah.
No, I don't shoot longbow. I shoot recurve. Sorry, I picked up your word.
I was wondering because a longbow, like traditionally in human history, right? The longbow was like a big advancement in warfare technology. The English used the longbow to get a further reach than their enemies. So you would use a recursive bow. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. So recursive bow and then crossbow also. So you've got kind of both going just in, like you pull the crossbow out real quick if you needed to. It probably is already kind of like locked in, ready to go.
Well, a crossbow is used for if you want to cause a massive amount of damage. So they would be hitting the harder to hit creatures, where a recurve would be able to take down something a lot faster. So anything flying that I need to take out of the air, or anything that's already on the ground that I want to hit long distance.
Cool. Okay, so you're going like elf, half elf, bows. Do you have a melee preference for when things get real close?
Good Witcher never leaves without a dagger.
Okay. All right. So a nice dagger or two, potentially. Maybe one of each type on each hip, ready to kind of pull out. All right. What about your specialty here? What about like signs? Clearly you're going to be advanced in your knowledge of the bow and daggers, but are you going more signs? Are you going oils? Are you going all
oils
combat?
Oils, definitely. Anything that I can coat the arrows in is what I would kind of go for. It's funny, Ben said that he's all signs all the time. I think that I use Igni whenever I need to light things on fire really quick, and then I never touch signs again in Witcher 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I was shielding myself a lot. That was mostly what I did. Was like, all right, I'm getting in close, gonna put up a shield, and then fight, and then the shield would go away, and I'd put it back up. All right, so no signs, mostly oils. Man, you guys are completely different. All right, let's talk about the way your character looks.
Let's see. She would be a little bit on the thinner side because that's what we generally associate with the elves, and especially the Scoia'tael. They are quite gangly, but similar in height. I'd say probably somewhere between 5'9" and 5'11".
What about the hair? Are you doing anything cool with the hair or scars?
So I don't get hit because I'm long range, so I don't have any scars.
Nice. Okay.
But I love the idea of a really long, thick black braid that can either, when undone, is like all the way down to like the back of my legs, or when it's up, is a really elaborate like headpiece.
Yeah, like a big old. I don't even know how to describe it. Like you kind of wind it around a few times and prop it up on your head.
Instead of Princess Leia having them on the sides of her head, no, put them both stacked together on the back of the head.
Wow.
High bun.
A high bun. That's awesome. What color? You said dark? Like
jet black.
Black.
Yeah.
Cool. What about the eyes?
So when you asked that the last time that we talked about creating our own Witchers, the image that popped into my head was like a goat split eye. And I think that would be so creepy and wonderful.
Oh, that'd be so weird. Like it's almost like a double pupil that's kind of butts up against itself. So it's elongated.
It's creepy. I hate it. And so I'd love it.
Would it go elongated up and down or left and right? Oh my God.
Left and right.
Oh, that's the weird one. Yep. That's even weirder. Oh, that's what color?
The pupils I would keep black. But then, wow, a really pale blue just came to mind for the iris color.
Yeah, so the very dark hair, but then really kind of piercing blue, goat-shaped eyes.
Yeah.
Man, that sounds nuts. Toasty, do you have any questions for either of them on these Witcher creations?
You know, Tom, I would probably have way more questions if I was... My brain is not working. So I'm actually kind of just thinking about what I would do while I'm listening to them. I kind of, I was, is it weird to say that I was more surprised by Ben's answer?
Yeah. I guess so.
It's like, I don't know. Me and Jen are kind of on the same wavelength here for a little bit here. So, but the fighting style is completely different in my mind. But it was just like Ben. That makes sense though, that you would like put yourself like in the game or like to be immersed or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's either it's one extreme or the other. At least with me, it's either I'm making myself in a game or I'm making somebody that's way different than myself.
It's just, I mean, like I know a lot of people like to do it like where they play themselves in a game so they feel more immersed. I play games because I want to get away from being myself. So I go like extreme opposite or just like something that like doesn't remind me of me in any way. So yeah.
So what would you do? Let's get your description here. What kind of character would you make? A werebub with sure.
Werebub with no. I would a little bit on the same wavelength as Jin. Elven female Witcher was the thing that I thought of. Definitely full elf. I think I would probably say School of the Cat. As far as that goes, definitely seeing a like lithe, like fast paced, agile, like dual wield fighting style for them. So like dual wielding kind of like 2 silver short swords or steel if need be. And oh geez, what were the other questions? Brain just
Yeah, would you focus more on your physical prowess with weapons, or on oils and potions, or on signs?
I think, because I generally do this in the games too, is where there's more of a focus on oils and potions. Definitely like using those to kind of up both like mobility and like reaction time kind of. And yeah, and we know that like the cats have kind of like refined their like alchemical stuff a bit better than other schools, so it definitely would be a more potent fighting style for them. I do really like Ard though, so there'd probably be a little bit of specialization in Ard.
You can split it, you know.
It'd probably be just specifically because I wouldn't be reaching for like a crossbow or a bow anytime soon, like focusing on the swords. So Ard would be there to like blast aerial enemies out of the sky and then to like basically get on them and start like hacking into them essentially.
Right. Bringing them down to where you are.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
that would be like the go-to for fighting aerial combatants. So
what about like the hair or the scars and that kind of side of it?
So
and the eyes.
Again, the same kind of point of like, you know, like I'm thinking kind of like a fairly tall, like lithe build on the character. And oh geez. The
Scars?
hair would probably be, the hair would probably be similar. Like I'm thinking some sort of like light colored kind of hair. Like I know elves kind of have like lighter colored hair sometimes. It'd probably be like I don't know, like some sort of like blonde, like a lighter blonde or whatever.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. But it would be kind of like still put in that kind of like Geralt style, like half back ponytail style.
Yeah. Keep it out of your face, but it's still long kind of thing.
Character gets up close and personal. So there's probably a lot of scars, honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. Like I'm a big fan of like eye scars. I don't know why. I just always like the scar that goes across like down the eye or whatever.
Yeah, it like breaks your eyebrow. You've got a little gap in the eyebrow and then it hits your cheek. Yeah.
Yeah, like series. So it's like probably that. And then what was the other thing? I feel like
what kind of eyes? Are you gonna have cat eyes? Certain color?
I think cat eyes, but like green.
That's cool.
I think I know elves kind of have like I just whenever I think elf, I imagine green eyes. So
yeah, blues to greens seem pretty common.
Yeah, it'd be like green cat eyes. I think is like an interesting mix of the mutations. You know, so
cool. Man, these sound fun. Tell you what, we need to take a break and thank our patrons, and then I've got some. I'm going to explain one that I'm putting together, and then a few other questions for this whole thing of like customizing your own Witcher and how that might actually work in a game. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Very well. Let us get this over with. Something has infested my vineyard.
Mm-hmm. Great. Let me go prepare my something oil then.
All right, here we are in the middle of the show. This is where we get to thank these guys, our patrons, and all of the other patrons who help support this show. There's 14 of you right now. We just increased to 14. Thank you so much for helping to support us. We really do appreciate it. And a big shout out to Katrina T, our newest patron. Welcome aboard. I hope you're enjoying those ad-free episodes and getting them early and all of that. Also, we've got to shout out our higher vampires, Ben of Temeria. Thanks, Ben. And Bane the Hospital Guy, both of whom support the show on a tier 5 level. Man, you guys are amazing. Thank you so very much for that. Also, we have a nice big review that came in. Let's read this one real quick. This one, it came from EcoGirl23 on Apple Podcasts in the US. Eco Girl wrote, awesome show for a newbie nerd / gamer. Some months ago, after a couple of years of mostly playing mobile games, Sims, and a bug-filled Steven Universe game, that sounds amazing, I was visiting my gamer boyfriend and watching him play The Witcher 3. The graphics and plot got me hooked, and Witcher 3, along with Ark, Fable, and Shadow of War, all of those are awesome, with one of the first adult, quote unquote adult rated over E10 plus and not a simulation game that I got into deeply. As a novice gamer in both ADHD and autism, I typically hyper focus on a game for several days or weeks before picking up a different title and then eventually cycling back to the first. I kind of do the same thing, so maybe I have those things too. I don't know. Consequently, learning about a game's background helps me both stay engaged and beat hard levels. The Witcher Lorecast provides lots of insights, has been a work playlist mainstay for a few weeks, in which time I've listened to 30-something episodes and has gotten me very excited to continue reading the books. I read The Last Witch, that would be a completely different book. The Last Wish before I started listening, and am currently waiting impatiently for Blood of Elves to be checked back in at my local library. Not only that, but as someone who's typically not a big movie fan, the show convinced me to watch Nightmare of the Wolf, which was amazing. Thanks for your hard work and keep doing what you're doing. Eco Girl, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Little pro tip here. Sometimes libraries have like digital versions of books or audio versions of books that you can check out. So even if you can't get that in the physical one, you might still be able to check it out a different way. So go check that out. But that's awesome. That's amazing.
That's how I did for whenever I was like rereading is, you can get like apps or whatever on your phone that allow you to like access like certain libraries, like electronic database, and you can like download the books to read, or like an audio book version or whatever. Yeah,
read it on your phone or play it on your phone while you're at work when, after you get done listening to all our episodes. But thank you so much for the review. If you guys want to help us out, leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify is an awesome way to do so. It helps other people find the show, and even just telling your friends, that helps a ton too. So thanks to everybody who supports the show, and thank you especially to our patrons. You guys are amazing. All right, let's move on with the rest of the show.
You smell of death and destiny, heroics and heartbreak.
It's onion.
Right, yeah.
All right, so I'm trying to get as creative as I can with my Witcher in a game where you can make whatever you want, and like the boundaries are just out there, right? Or at least anything within reason, right? Like you wouldn't be able to make like a monster Witcher. That doesn't make any sense, right? It has to be like an intelligent creature of some sort who's one of the common races. So I'm thinking what I will do is I will make a gnome Witcher. It will be the first of the gnome Witchers. I didn't ask you guys what you're going to name your Witchers, but be thinking. I want to hear what you're going to name your Witchers. His name will be Tooty Toot, and I'm just spitballing this. Tooty Toot the Gnome Witcher, and at first thought, when you think of gnomes, you think of kind of like big noses, kind of ugly. Maybe he's like balding, straggly hair. No, this is the most handsome gnome you will have ever met. In fact, wherever he goes, people often confuse him before they realize he's a gnome with famous bards and legendary performers because of his handsome face. But when they scoot back from the table and then he hops off the table and he's only as tall as the table, they then realize that he's a gnome. And as a gnome, he focuses primarily on potions and magic, the signs and those kinds of things. He only relies on physical combat when it's absolutely necessary. He sees that he can talk himself out of most situations, but when it comes down to hunting monsters, he would rather lay traps and outsmart the monster without actually having to take it on physically. So he's kind of a craftsman in a way. So that's what he's doing. He's dashingly handsome. He has dark hair. He has a very fancy mustache, and he has one big scar on his chin, which makes him look a lot like Harrison Ford. So is Harrison Ford the gnome? That's what I just invented. Do you guys have any questions about my gnome Witcher? Everybody's just like, what? Ben, we can't hear you. I think you're still muted. Oh, there you go. Just heard gnome. Say that again?
Yeah. literally, when you were going to say what race you were going to be, gnome popped in my head, and you just.
I think it would be amazing. I think it would be really cool. And this is part of why this premise came up for this episode, is to have races that have different qualities, different like bonuses and attributes. And I mean, it's a video game, right? So you're going to have like different races are going to be better at different things. So that's kind of where I wanted to go next. But real quick, what are the names of your Witcher? What is the name of this character? And you can't say your own name. It has to be a different name. I think I'm not going to go with 2D whatever. That was the first thing that popped in my name. I think I'm just going to go with Farrison Horde, the gnome.
Dear God.
I like it.
Jen's down with it. Everyone else,
I'm okay with that.
everyone's like,
Star Wars
you're
reference.
ridiculous.
I mean, how many different Harrison Fords are there in World of Warcraft? Are there
God.
like at least 3
Yeah.
little gnomes that have his name?
Probably. Yeah, there's lots of references to everything in World of Warcraft at this point. But yeah.
I mean, Harris Pilton is an orc, so
Yeah. I'm not familiar with all of them. All right. So what would you name yours?
as soon as you asked what my name was, the name Shadow popped up in my head, and so I'm going through like translate on Google right now to try and put like a cool,
like some
not
other
English word of Spanish,
right?
Shadow. I mean,
Cool.
Kavuli. Ooh, I like Kavuli.
All right.
It is shadow in Swahili.
That sounds cool. All right. What about Ben?
Yeah, I'm very unoriginal with names as a whole.
10 of Bavaria.
I don't know. I was thinking Eric of Oxenfurt.
Hey, that works. You have kind of a regular kind of Witcher dude. A name like Eric's pretty regular. That would match.
Yeah,
That makes
there you
sense.
go.
Yeah. Is it spelled in in the typical like American spelling is ERIC? Is it like ERIK?
ERIK.
Yeah, it's more like Nordic
Be a little
sounding.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Toasty.
Okay, so my character's a little bit of a I mean, cat school or whatever, kind of.
Oh, I forgot to mention the school of my character. Keep going. I have to share the school, but go on.
So she's a bit of a smart ass, and she likes to jab at people. So her Witcher name would also be a jab at any a country on the continent that really doesn't like elves and has a long-standing history of like elven racism. So her name would be Solana of Sintra.
Oh, fancy.
Ben's like, what? No, it would definitely be a jab. It was chosen just because she knows how much Sintra hates elves, and so she likes the idea of toting around that name.
Right. I getcha. So for the school, for my Bearson Horde, his school is he comes from a brand new school that nobody's ever heard of before. It's the school that only has gnome witchers in it. It's the school of the guinea pig. And his hair actually looks like a guinea pig. He's got like multiple, like what's that called? Where like you have like where your hair parts out of a spot. You know what I'm talking about? Calyx. He's got like multiple calyx on the top of his head.
Dear God.
But he's still very handsome. So there you go. That's my Witcher. So guys, I wanted to put we're going to put our little game designer hats on right now. And let's take all the major races. Let's say you're designing the game and they can be human, they can be elf, they can be half elf, they could be dwarf, they could be gnome, they could be werebub, maybe not. If you were to design it, what qualities would you give each of these races in order to make them distinct from the other races? So like a human Witcher, I'm assuming would probably have some sort of, either they'd be like flat, like nothing, no bonuses, no negatives. Like maybe they're just kind of the standard and everything else is a balance off of that? Or do you give them, like, humans in this world tend to be physically aggressive, so they get a little bit more of a bonus to strength or something like this? Like, how would you design these? You guys have any ideas?
With so much D&D lore and history running through my brain, I'm like, elves get a bonus to dex, so I would definitely take that. That'll help with me shooting.
Right. Well, I mean, it would make sense though. Like, I think there are similarities in these fantasy worlds, right? But it doesn't have to be exactly the same.
In the Witcher tabletop, elves get a bonus to archery.
That's
nice.
what I was actually about to say. Like, you can literally copy and paste like the racial statuses from the TTRPG for Witcher.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
true.
it would easily go into video game format, honestly.
Yeah. Would you give elves a bonus to magic ability?
Oh yeah. Meh.
Not, I mean, they're
I
not
don't know.
like inherently more magical than
I mean, there's the elder
humans
blood. There's
are.
the potential that they have elder blood, right? Isn't that like kind of a thing?
it's like
Yeah.
it's not like a fucking like common thing though. Like, you know, there's one Ciri on the continent
Sure.
when
sure.
she's actually there. So like,
Right. So what about, Jen's got the book here in front of her. She's like looking through it.
um,
Do you have, like, when it comes to something like a dwarf, what do you think the dwarves get?
I would say a bonus in strength. And then also I would say, I mean, craftsmanship.
I was
Since,
thinking craftsmanship
Yeah.
would be cool too. And then you could have, like, so if you were to do the XP lines, like weapons, potions and oils, and then your signs, to have a fourth one that was like craftsmanship, where you could build traps, you could build barriers, you could fortify things, you could, like, there'd be a few different ways that you could do things like that. Even maybe create harnesses or equipment that you could mount to your horse.
Or even if you're experienced enough in smithing, smith your own weapons instead of having a blacksmith do it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Smithing your own weapons, upgrading your own weapons, magically enchanting your own weapons, your own armor, things like that could be side of it too. So the dwarves would have kind of a bonus there. What about the gnomes? Would the gnomes also benefit from that in some way? They're kind of crafty. Maybe more the magic-y side of craftsmanship, where the dwarves are more the physical side? Maybe?
haven't
Oh yeah, gnomes are tinkerers, so
Yeah.
they should
Yeah.
be able to create enchantments.
but not like obviously, I mean, Witchers aren't the best known for like stuff like this, but like social skills or whatever. We know that you like barter and stuff. I think dwarves would get like dwarves or gnomes would get like a bonus to that.
I think the dwarves would be particularly, they see, like we talked about in the episode with the dwarves, they tend to like blend in fairly well compared to some of these other non-human races, to give them an advantage, like a bonus to just like getting along with people. I mean, they're kind of gruff, but they kind of also are charming in their gruffness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, yeah, gnomes would definitely get like, you know, crafting stuff.
Yeah.
Like very, very much crafters. Yeah. Did elves get bonuses to like herbalism / like alchemy stuff or whatever? Because they definitely like much better like natural foragers probably.
That makes sense.
And plus elven speech.
Elder speech, yeah.
Yep.
So what about, these are like positives. What about negatives? What about like deficits? What would be a disadvantage to being an elf, for example?
Nobody likes you.
Like, well, that's, I mean, that could be part
You
of it. Like,
automatically like have to like your barter amount automatically starts at like a lower amount comparatively because
Negative 10% on everything you sell.
yeah.
something like, because I mean like it's like a Witcher plus an Elven, like on top of that, like those are like the two things people on the continent hate the most. So it would definitely like
Would
have
you
some issues there.
Would you work into the game something like speech checks, like in D&D or even something like Skyrim, where like you're trying to do something and so you try to persuade somebody, and so would they have a disadvantage to their charisma, or maybe you don't even call it charisma, maybe call it like social, like maybe they have to get in well from a social dynamic. Is that a werebub?
It's an entire page dedicated to werebubs and their stats.
Werebubs.
Nice.
Maybe I should make a werebub instead of a gnome. That sounds amazing.
Well, they are a proud race with a long history of heroics and valor. So a werebub witcher would make sense.
That sounds awesome. Plus, they're furry and cute.
Mm-hmm.
they're like Ewoks.
They are. They're very Ewok.
They're like Ewok Witcher.
I think if you put like a social thing, I think it depends on like, because then I think it would depend on like the current like political.
Right. Like in a human kingdom, they would have a natural negative to their social standing. But if you were
like, if it's like Nilfgaard, maybe not as bad.
Maybe it's
like,
kind of neutral, or maybe it's just only slightly negative. Yeah. Or if they were to travel to, like we talked about some of these other places where, you know, the elves or the dwarves live or whatever, then all of a sudden that standing adjusts. So maybe as a human, you end up with a negative standing in that social situation as opposed to what you would have gotten otherwise.
Yeah.
That could totally be a thing.
Funny you say that, because that's a legit mechanic in the TTRPG.
Well, there you go, man. We're just redesigning the tabletop role-playing game.
I mean, that's like the dream though, isn't it? Like
it is.
Be able to have a video game that's extensive as a tabletop.
Yeah.
I would like, but
I mean, that's part of why I brought this conversation up, because I there's something that, like, it's fun to play through the games as Geralt or as Ciri, because we love those characters and they're great characters. But there's also something to be said for being the silent protagonist, like being who you want to be and actually role playing in this world as somebody of your choosing, and making your way through it and making those decisions and dealing with it and really being able to live out a role and role play, not just a specific person, but anything. I feel like, and a lot of the shows I do either fall typically on one side of this or the other. Mass Effect is more like The Witcher or more like Cyberpunk, right? Where you're playing a specific character and you can bend that character a little bit one direction or another, but they're still the same person. They have a name, they have an identity in the world. People respond to them in certain ways. But then you and even Fallout 4 is the same kind of way. You are a specific person. You can choose what they do, but you're a specific person. They have a voice. But in games like Skyrim or games like Fallout 3 or New Vegas, like, it's the other side of that. Typically, if you're going to play Dungeons and Dragons, it's the same kind of thing. Almost every instance of Dungeons and Dragons, even when you're making your party, you make the characters you want. Sometimes you get pre-built characters you can choose from, but usually there's always the ability to just make a character whole cloth. And doing that in the Witcher world seems really cool in the video game sense. I think that there's something there that could be really fun. So
definitely. I would love to see more decision making in Witcher, where like I have to make a choice and then it affects later parts of the game along with it, just to give it a little bit more of a unique and personalized gaming experience, because that is a big thing about why I love to play a lot of the other games where it's like my decisions actually matter. With Geralt, yeah, that you've got a couple of them, and then of course that those decisions affect the outcome, but there's not a whole lot of variation with it.
Yeah, the sense I get is that CDPR likes to tell their story, and they like to give you a few different ways that story can end differently. But for the most part, they want to tell the story, right? But yeah, I'm with you. I like this idea of like, what if it's this broad open thing? What if you walk into a certain kingdom and you treat the people a certain way and you get rid of the monsters, but maybe you treated them like garbage? And now your reputation is even worse. And you've got to deal with that. But maybe, just like The Witcher does, there's a good reason why you treated the people like garbage. Maybe they really deserved it, right? So it's like, it's this double-bladed sword kind of thing where you're like, well, do I do what I feel like I should do because they deserve it? And maybe they screwed me over, so I'm just going to give them what they deserve. But in the long run of the game, it makes it harder, or maybe it makes it more likely that a negative version of a story plays out later once you realize that, like, the princess of the kingdom is, summoning you to do something because now another monster is affecting the kingdom, but it's a much bigger deal, and so she's going to treat you differently. Like I like what you're saying with that, Jen. What do you think, Toasty? Do you think we'll ever see anything like this?
I mean, I could hope all I want. I'd like see like a game with like or like choices matter and stuff like that. Like, sure, but like to that level, probably not.
Yeah,
honestly, it's just something that you just can't really do because like everything has to be like pre-scripted to a point because we don't have like. You'd have in that kind of situation, you'd have to like have like some sort of like very advanced, like reactive, like AI that responds to your stuff.
You could do it on the level of something like New Vegas, where you have your different standings with each of the factions, and you have your ability to take on certain kinds of side quests or quests or whatever based on your standing with those factions, or your relationship with other side characters or companions are very dependent on what you do. Like there are characters that you can become companions with where if you do something like they're maybe the pro NCR, and if you do something that's very pro Legion, you get past a certain point with that and they just leave you. They're just like, nah, I'm out. Or they attack you, right? Like you can, that stuff has been done 15 years ago. Like to work that kind of thing in a Witcher game. And I'm not saying it needs to be beyond that. Like the stuff you're imagining, you're right. You would need, I would need more.
I would love to have like a game on the level of Fallout New Vegas, like choices matter, but like you just don't really see that. I mean,
it's rare.
Had that opportunity where they had Bethesda had Fallout New Vegas as like a point that they could have like looked at for Fallout 4 and they still didn't make it to that level. And it's like, well, okay.
Yeah. Well, they were going a different direction. They were trying the specific character, not the voiceless protagonist. They were going, and to their credit, they were probably drawing from games like the Mass Effect series, which were very popular the years leading up to Fallout 4 and series that did that very well. So they were probably pulling more from that perspective because they wanted to try something different. Right. And I guess that's just where we are at with CDPR then, is they've done the Witcher series. They've done 3 games of The Witcher with very specific characters. They've done Cyberpunk with a very specific character. People like these games. Do they keep going in that direction, or do they give us more agency and more variability in our choices? And I think you're right. I think we won't get that, but it would be extremely popular if they did it well. I think it would be amazing. Mm-hmm. Ben, what do you think? I know you've got thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I mean, reality-wise, we probably won't get that because, I mean, the CDPR's like whole philosophy, as you see in The Witcher 1 through 3, and then Cyberpunk, it's very strict like storytelling because that's the whole point. Now, I mean, they are working very close to our Tarsorian games, and I know if anybody keeps up to date on the TTRPG, they actually delayed the Rodolph's Guide to the Continent book because of the development for Witcher 4, because they don't want continuity issues.
Yeah,
that shows. I mean, I can see that they might take some aspects of the TTRPG and put it into the Witcher 4, but as far as we won't know until we see like test footage or beta footage gameplay of Witcher 4 or whatever it will be.
Yeah. A more close relationship between those two would be amazing because both teams do really cool work.
And a lot of the game lore comes from the tabletop games.
Yeah.
Well, and you can iterate on that stuff faster. It takes them 4 or 5 years to put another Witcher game out, but our Telsorian's putting out new tabletop stuff every year.
Actually, they just released a new book like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I think that CDPR has like the ability to like make a game to where like how we're talking, like that level of like
open role playing.
Oh yeah, because like I mean we see it. There's like touches of it. Like I mean like my thought of like is like that first like mission is part of like the intro in Cyberpunk. Like when you have to like go to Maelstrom, you have like 10 different options on how you want to handle that situation. Like there's so many things, like each thing like affects things differently, and you kind of see it. Like it's not like a huge impact later on, but it does come down to like what you see. Like you can make choices in there that affect some of the later stuff. So they have the capability. It's just like they'd have to do that for kind of everything. And we know that they like handcraft every like quest that they make. They don't do like the the pre-generated stuff or like radiant quests or whatever. Like each quest is written and is like incredibly different in that way, which is, I mean, so I think that like the potential is definitely there. Will we get it? I'm not.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. I mean, man, can you imagine if we had like Bethesda does, where they split their teams? So, for example, you've got like Elder Scrolls Online, which is ZeniMax, and then you've got Bethesda, like the main team that does the main games. Can you imagine a situation with CDPR where they do like a side Witcher game that's more of an open RPG, and then they do like a mainline Witcher game that's more character focused, traditional? Like if they were put out a game every 2 to 3 years, one team drops a game, the other team drops the game so each team has 5 years to develop a game, so that you're getting a new game every 2.5 years. That's a Witcher series. That's one's a little bit more open, one's a little bit more on the rails. Like that would be amazing. I don't know. I feel like sometimes studios don't do this because they think they're going to burn their audience out. They're gonna be like, well, you're getting too many of these things, people are gonna stop buying them, right? But then you look at
enough, it's not gonna like you're not gonna get burned out on.
Look at the Assassin's Creed series. Look at Call of Duty. Like there are studios out there, there are publishers out there that have multiple studios that do these iterations where it's either every year or every other year, and they put stuff out all the time. And to your point, if it's a high enough quality thing, people still buy it.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts?
Jen, you say something, Jen?
I think you're talking, but we're not hearing. Nothing's coming through.
I'm ready to play the next game. It's like I think having the TV show and having, it's like, you were talking about how the new TT book just came out. I do have that one, A Book of Tales, the dandelion covered book.
There's another one now. It's Tome of Chaos. It's all sorceress. It's all magic. Ooh. Literally everything is magic, and there's new monsters.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah, it would be nice to have a new one. I agree. Well, guys, I think we're at the end of this episode. This has been fun playing make believe about a game we may never get, but fingers crossed. Who knows? Maybe we're going to put this out into the universe.
It's fun.
Yeah, we're just going to put this out into the universe. Maybe everybody out there is going to tweet at CDPR, and we can just summon this into existence. Maybe that's how it'll work. Ben, I know you've got other stuff going on. What do you want to share before we head out?
I got a lot of stuff going on. So I am one of the hosts for Holocron Histories, Star Wars Canon versus Legends, where we go over a deep dive of the lore of Star Wars, the differences of the canon and legends. I have my episode, actually, our Patreon episode is tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Central Eastern Time. And we are going to be going over what starship would you want if you could have one.
Nice.
And then I also will be posting pictures on the Robots Radio Discord. The Renaissance Fair that is in my state is starting up here, so I will be cosplaying as my own original Witcher, and possibly more than likely going to be my own original Elder Scrolls character.
Nice. Is his name Eric also?
No.
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 Cool.
Man of Morrowind.
Cool. Hey, also a week from today, it's Monday as we record this. A week from today, you're also going to be streaming for the charity stream. We're doing this is a thing. There's announcements going up everywhere on Labor Day. So September 5th. That's the right day, right? September 5th. We are streaming all day long on the twitch.tv/robots radio channel, but then these guys are also streaming on their own channels. There's going to be like cross streaming. They're going to be doing stuff. Ben, you're going to be doing a thing. What are you doing for that?
Yeah, so at 10 p.m. Eastern, I will be streaming Star Wars Battlefront 2 and also doing a Star Wars AMA. So you can ask me anything Star Wars related. I will try to answer with the best of my knowledge, with all the knowledge that I have.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'll be streaming on our own channel, Holocron Histories, so you can go follow there. And it will also be through your channel on Robots Radio.
Yep. And all of the proceeds will be going to St. Jude's, helping the kids. So come on out for that. Come hang out with us all day long. There's going to be lots of different hosts, including Genesis. You're going to be there too?
I will. Me and Toasty and Teacup from the Dragon Age Lorecast and Psych 88 and and the Almighty Crit are doing a D&D session. And I am super excited about it. So, and you can watch that, and we'll be streaming it from the Two Girls One Ship Twitch stream. So
it'll be on there. It'll be also streamed on Robots Radio. So you can go to both places, check that stuff out. So and then you've got your show.
Two Girls, One Ship, the podcast where we analyze, rate, and review all that the world of video game romances has to offer.
Awesome.
We are currently in Fallout 4 right now.
Wow.
So
cool. I like that game.
Yeah. Well, if you have a favorite romance character, hit me up and maybe we'll interview you on the show.
Oh gosh. I'm so bad. You know me. I'm so bad at getting romances to work in games.
I think you've already done Tom's.
Which one? Oh, do you know which
Kate,
one?
Right?
Yeah, Kate's my spunky redhead.
I think I remember you saying something. I think you did a Kate episode. On Fallout,
Kate's,
and you were like,
Kate's
and I like the accent. I like the redhead. I was like, okay,
yep. Spunky redheads. That's that works for me. Cool. Well, go check out those shows. Those are awesome. Toasty, you got anything?
Follow us at Witcher Lorecast on Twitter and check out Cyberpunk's. I don't know if episode 3's out yet or not.
Who knows? But go check it out. It's a lot of fun. Cyberpunk, also a show you should check out. And then, come hang out with us next week, Monday night, for streams all day long. Lots of different stuff. I'll be playing some games. We'll be doing lots of things. I've been working to grow my my Twitch account as well. So come hang out with me during the days on Monday or afternoons starting around 1 to 2 p.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's my definite time for streaming, but I'll be streaming other times as well. Playing lots of games, just hanging out with the community. It's a great place for us to kind of all get together and be able to chat and hang out. So that's what I've been doing. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for being here, everybody. All right. And Toasty,
stay safe on the path.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye. Thanks for tuning into the Witcher Lorecast. We'd love to hear about your experiences with the games and the books and the TV series and all your thoughts on everything. Please check out the Robots Radio Discord and follow us on Twitter at Witcher Lorecast.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.